Guys, welcome to Femi's Dessertsville YouTube channel. So today is for another edition of my nutty crunch carrot cake recipe. I uploaded another kind of recipe, same carrot cake recipe, a while back, but this time around there are just a few omissions from the original recipe. Now this is still a very perfect recipe, but I took my time to go back and do some research for those people that have aversions with honey and the likes of it. We all can be the same. So I brought this to you guys again. So for you all that don't like honey, or you prefer to have only sugar in your recipe, this is for you. Just as amazing, very super moist and flavorful and rich. Okay, so I'll give you a quick run on the recipe now by measurement, and then we'll go straight into the business of the day. So for one batter, we're going to be needing 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I already poured that here. To make this video a little bit more explanatory, and spoons of baking powder as seen here. So I think I'll just be measuring it right away to make it faster, so I don't do this again. This is what the measuring spoon looks like. So we're going to be using 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Okay. Any good brand is okay. Level. So this is how you get your level teaspoon. Take it and have a heap, and then gently run either your spatula or your finger across it. So that goes into the sieve. 2 of it. So that's the first one. 2 teaspoons. Repeat the process. Baking soda is also 2 teaspoons. Any good brand is okay. Again. So here, this is bicarbonate of soda. So baking soda and bicarbonate of soda, they actually mean the same thing. So leveled as well. That's the first one, and this is the second one. The major ingredients in this carrot cake, aside from the flour and everything, is the ground cinnamon, because it has the most ingredients in the most quantity in it. So here is 3 teaspoons to give it a very rich burst of aroma. You know how carrots and cinnamon blend properly. So that's 3 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. If you were to use a cinnamon stick, you could just grate that over it, maybe just half of the cinnamon stick, but I rarely do that, so, and it's not very accessible in my location. And then when you're going about talking about the ground nutmeg, you would use half teaspoon of the ground nutmeg. So if you don't have access to the ground nutmeg and you want to use the seed nutmeg, you can grate that and then you measure it out. So that is half of that. And then half teaspoon of your table salt. I'd strongly advise you use the regular table salt, the small table salt, not kosher or anything, because it has less potency and you don't want your cake overly salty. So that's all about the dry ingredients. So I'll just sieve this over the already pre-measured 2 cups of flour, making sure to get out all the particles as seen, or trash that. Set this aside, and then give it a quick mix using your spatula, and then you set that apart. Before you start making your cake, because this process runs by in a breeze, really, it doesn't take a very complicated mixing time. So I'd best advise that you get your oven preheated ahead of time, just before you start off. 180 degrees mark of your oven temperature preheated at least 15 minutes before time, so that it can get heated properly. And prepare your pan. This batter is going to conveniently sit in 1 unit of this 8 inches round pan to give you a sizable sheet cake. So I already oiled this with butter, not oil because it's an oil-based cake, so it makes it a little bit more tricky if you use oil. Okay, so I used butter, the regular butter, and then I further dusted with the flour. And I'll set that apart. You can see how clean it is. So now talking about the other ingredients now. We're going to be using, now this is where the variation runs for the carrot cake. It's subject to a thing of choice. Some people don't like to have brown sugar in their recipe. But trust me, for this particular recipe, I like to eat my cake and have it, something like that. So because I don't like the fact that if I put too much brown sugar in my batter, it runs a little bit dark. So I have a way I devised of mixing the white granulated sugar and then the brown sugar, and knowing that brown sugar is a lot more moist than white sugar, and it has this rich flavor, and of course it aids the moisture in your cake. So I never omit it, but I just tone it down so that I can have a lighter color of batter, because you know it blends really well with the carrot and everything. So what I do is, for one batter I use 1 cup of my granulated sugar, all right, and I then use half cup of the brown sugar. That is in case, but if you don't want to use your brown sugar, you are going to be using 2 cups of the granulated white sugar. And the reason why the quantity of the brown sugar overrides in this case is because brown sugar is typically sweeter than white sugar, and that is because it has richer ingredients and compositions. So half cup of brown sugar is equals to 1 cup of white sugar. So if I use half cup of brown sugar, it's just like me using 1 cup of white sugar. Do you understand? So that's why I'm using 1 cup of white sugar and half cup of brown sugar. Or in the alternative, I could use 2 cups of white sugar. And in the alternative again, if I want to totally take out white sugar, because some people even prefer brown sugar, all you need to do is just use 1 cup of brown sugar. I hope that is clear. So for today, for me to have the various flavors infused, I'm using 1 cup of white sugar, and then I'm using half cup of brown sugar. So it's basically a throw it all in technique. So once I add my sugar, so I know I haven't given you the measurement of every other one, but I'm doing it gradually. So that's for the sugar. And so the oil is 1 cup of vegetable oil and 1/3 cup of vegetable oil. The reason why this is so is because this particular cake doesn't contain any further moisture enhancing ingredients like milk, like coffee or anything. The only moisture enhancing ingredient in this recipe is the vegetable oil. So that doesn't mean you have to put it overly, but you have to get a perfect balance so you don't end up with a dry crumbling cake texture. Aside that, the other major source of moisture is the carrot. You know how it is with fresh fruits. Already seeing it the way it looks is cold. So of course when this gets into the batter and then it interacts with the temperature in the oven, it extracts moisture and then it aids the moisture. But that is not as if there will be milk inside the batter. So since the recipe can call for milk, we need to look for how to work that out, and I've worked it out. So we're going to be using, going forward, 1 cup of vegetable oil, as well as 1/3 cup of vegetable oil. So I'm going to be pouring that all in now. Most of my recipes call for just 1 cup at the max. So for you, if you've been following closely, you'll see that this contains a little bit of an added quantity of oil. So that is it. Contains 4 eggs per batter. I already broke that, so it's all going in at the same time, as I already said too. Your dark vanilla is 2 teaspoons per batter. So here I'm going to be putting 2 teaspoons all at once. After which I will just turn on my mixer for just a few seconds really. Remember, it's an oil-based recipe, so it doesn't really need to be till light and fluffy or anything like that. So I'm just going to turn it on now for just a couple of seconds just to moisten it together. After I do that, I then throw it all of the flour in one single addition. Remember, it doesn't have a lot of moisture enhancing ingredients, so you don't want to over mix it, okay? So you need to just put it all at once so you can incorporate just the right amount of air it needs at that time. After which, we're going to be hand folding the carrots as well as the mixed nuts into the batter. That's going to be the last bit of it. So this is optional for those that have nut allergies. You can completely leave this out, but if you do not, it gives it more intense flavor. All right, because now I have pistachios here, I have coconuts, I have almonds, and I have cashews already ground together, and then it just gives you a very nice experience. So let's just go so let me do that now. I'm mixing for just a few seconds now. And so I forgot to mention that the measurement for the carrots is at least 2 cups of the freshly grated carrot. Please don't use frozen carrot to get the intense flavor and the moisture you need, so you don't end up with a dense cake, because it's going to be cold temperature if it is frozen. So freshly grated carrots only. Now the thing is, for instance, if you grate your carrots and you have a little excess, feel free to throw it all in. Not like you're going to now pour 4 cups in it, but any little extra will do just fine, because the more the better really, but there has to be a margin. So it's a minimum of 2 cups, and it could be about 2 1/4 or 2 1/2. You're still good to go. You don't need to trash the rest. So at this point now, I'm going to lift up the mixer, and then my dry ingredients already set aside before. I will just pour all of it in. So this recipe is very similar to the previous one. The only thing is the particular ingredients I took out and some adjustments in the measurement. That's just the only thing. So this is going to be combined on medium speed for just a few seconds again. See? That's all about it for the mixing with the mixer. Any other mixing that's going to happen now is going to be by the hand. That's why you need a good and a strong spatula sim to help you navigate that. So just shake off any excess. Take it out from the mixing bowl, and then mixer. Just give it a few minutes so you can see what it looks like. It looks like a very light brown. So all going in at the same time. I'm going to be adding the nuts at the same time too. I think I'm following. See different combinations, and then you just fold this in just few firm strokes. What it looks like. So if you watched up until this point, just drop carrot cake in the comment box, and don't forget to show your girl some love. You can give me a super thanks, okay? If you really know that you have found my channel helpful, please feel free to give me a super thanks. I'm going to be very happy, I'm going to be very motivated, I'm going to be very encouraged, and I'm going to be very happy to see that. So yeah, let's go ahead. So I'm done mixing now, and this is what the batter looks like. So surprisingly, this batter ends up looking like a thick clump of batter, but what amazes me every time I bake it is how it still ends up being looking, feeling, and tasting super fluffy and very light textured. I think it's because by the time it gets into the oven, every sort of thickness gets deflated, and then the fluffiness, you know, comes out from the heat and everything. So I'm going to be pouring it into the pan now, and then I'll be popping it in the oven for at least 35 minutes, because I like it to bake properly. But sometimes your oven temperature is going to differ, but 35 minutes is the minimum time frame you can bake this up for. You can even bake it for up to 40 minutes if you don't have a very intensely hot oven, but it has to be on the 180 mark so that you don't get it to dry out, so that you don't get it to burn around the sides on the bottom without having it baked properly in the center. So right now, but if you're using foil dishes like this, or baking, you know, smaller baking pans or cupcake liners, a minimum of 15 minutes is just fine. And trust me, this is another good one. If you want to bake this up with cupcakes, it's just perfect. It doesn't have, you don't have to alter anything, you don't have to remove anything. Just pour them in your liner, line your cupcake trays, and it's going to end up just as amazing as it would be if it were to be a full cake. So I'm pouring now. Okay. Like I told you earlier, it's going to take up everything, but I'm going to leave out just a little bit so that it will serve as the sample for illustration. Carrot cake is ready now, and it's baked for approximately about 45 minutes for the bigger pan, and then this baked for about 25 minutes for the smaller loaf. Remember I said that earlier. So let's turn this together, and then I'll show you what this looks like on the inside, and we'll call it a day. top, so let me just try and handle it. Okay. See? So this is what it looks like now. Look at the bottom side. Look at how it's springing right back. Look at how it has no burnt sides or bottoms. See? Very perfectly baked. And look at what the surface looks like. And then for the second one, I'll simply take this off. And here, look at what it looks like. Can you see the moisture? This is a cake that doesn't contain any milk, but look at the moisture. So I'll cut this now so you can see what it looks like on the inside. Let's cut this. So guys, this is what it looks like. Can you see the carrots, the coconuts, and everything yummy in between? Check the texture, springing right back. So that's going to be all for today. I hope you enjoyed the class. I hope that now that you have an option of trying which one or that one, you won't have any excuse not to try this recipe. It's a winning recipe. I'm just so super excited. So as always, if you feel like I've impacted you in any way, even if it is in the littlest way, I'd appreciate if you can give me a super thanks. Just click on the super thanks icon on the on the icon below, and it will lead you to how you can just appreciate your favorite baker girl in your own little way. So till next time, keep subscribing, keep watching, keep sharing, and keep streaming this channel. I'll always remain your favorite girl. And for those of you in my membership platform, keep subscribing. You will always be in for premium content, and it would always be value for your money every single time. Till next time guys, I remain your favorite baker girl, Famous Dessert View. Bye bye.